What's good, everybody? Welcome to a video on diet guidelines. Now, these are my diet guidelines that I've kind of derived from listening to Mark Sisson, Leo and Longevity, as well as everybody being proponents of intermittent fasting, the importance of probiotics and prebiotics, that sort of thing. So I'm going to put these guidelines here. And then we're going to go into further depth on why these are the conclusions. What I've decided are the things that are most important about your diet. Now, when people ask me about dieting, I don't like to give them eat this, this, and this specifically. 2 cups of rice, and a handful of these vegetables, X amount of ounces of this meat, because at the end of the day, you know your own taste buds. You know what you're going to stick to the best long term. It isn't just a diet, it's a lifestyle. So I like to just give these general guidelines so that people can go out, they can shop, and they can be, an informed decision maker on what they put in their body and why they should put certain things in their body. So as you can see, the list is whole foods, low in saturated fat, low in sugar, high protein, high fiber, metabolic flexibility, small amount of fruit or vegetables each day, probiotics, and a multivitamin. So starting with whole foods, this might be a pretty straightforward logic here, in that whole foods are, the less processed the food is, the better it is generally for you. There's a variety of correlational studies pointing to worse health outcomes the more processed foods that you have in your diet. Furthermore, processed foods tend to be higher in sugar, saturated fat, and the process of processing these foods generally removes or damages the protective molecules present in the original food, such as antioxidants or hormetic compounds. For example, juicing fruits can turn a potentially low glycemic food into liquid sugar by destroying all of the fiber that would normally slow the digestion of the food. I also believe you should limit saturated fat. Saturated fat is known to contribute to inflammation. High saturated fats also lead to unfavorable HDL to LDL ratios, and in combination with inflammation, high blood pressure, that sort of thing, can lead to atherosclerosis, and all types of cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attacks, that sort of thing. Now, I know there's, a big movement to kind of remove the stigma around saturated fat, but unless you're eating in a very particular way, I think saturated fat is still something that, especially people with genetic predispositions to high cholesterol, should just avoid entirely. The other thing I like to do is limit sugar. Sugar decreases insulin sensitivity and creates large swings in blood sugar, which can lead to it being converted and stored as fat. So obviously, sugar is absorbed quicker than other carbohydrates and causes blood glucose to rise quickly. So in order to kind of compensate for this large increase in the blood, a large amount of insulin has to be released to push that into the cells and, bring it back down to a normal blood glucose level. This ultimately causes muscles and organs to saturate their glucose stores, but then all of that excess glucose quickly spills over and gets converted into fat and stored in fat cells. This is in contrast to more complex carbs, or when sugar is mixed in with fiber, because at that point it is absorbed more steadily. So blood sugar is allowed to raise, slowly over time, so muscles are filled, and it provides sustained glucose in the blood, so it doesn't spill as easily into fat cells. So if you think about it, it's like, like watering plants essentially. If you just dump a bunch of water on a plant all at once, it's not really going to be able to absorb it effectively, and it's going to kind of drown in that and maybe, spill over the sides of the plant. But if you take that same amount of water and, you put a little bit now, you wait 5 minutes, put a little bit in, wait 5 minutes, put a little bit in, it's actually going to be able to absorb and properly utilize that amount of water. The next thing, high protein. This is an obvious one. Everybody kind of knows about this. Protein stimulates repair of all tissues in the body. It has high satiety and has a low glycemic index, meaning it doesn't spike blood sugar, which obviously, as we just talked about, is very important. In terms of longevity, protein is kind of demonized in that community because it does increase the speed of aging, but any athlete, like to have any level of a quality athletic life, I think protein is essential for, good body composition and good athletic performance. The next point, we have metabolic flexibility. Now, this is kind of the term that Mark Sisson likes to use, metabolic flexibility, meaning you need to be able to switch between efficiently using sugar to saturate muscle and also burning fat for fuel. So you can use both of the different sources, because your body isn't able to utilize both of these sources at once. It really relies either on carbs for energy source or fats at one time. So if you're constantly eating carbs, then you're never able to start burning fat. Most people are already accustomed to using carbs because glucose is the body's primary energy source, but due to an abundance of food and snacking, people never really go long enough to start burning fat for energy. It's kind of your body's last resort for energy. There are really only three good ways of tapping into fat. That's one, a consistent calorie deficit for a long period of time, meaning more calories burned than you take in. Two, fasting for at least 16 hours, which allows you to use up all of your carbs, so your body has to start using fat for energy. Or three, the keto diet, meaning you don't eat any carbs, only fat. So no matter how many calories you eat, your body starts to switch over to utilizing fat for energy because you don't have any carbs present to utilize. So then in this case, you're either converting, things that are already present in your body, protein or fat, into carbs, or your brain is running on ketones. The next bullet point here is multivitamins. So multivitamins are just a good source of supplying micronutrients, so all of your bodily processes can run smoothly. And most vitamins, I should say, are either enzymes, hormones, or cofactors for enzymes so that each tissue can efficiently perform their function. And without vitamins present, the function of these enzymes and hormones may be impaired and end up damaging the body. It's kind of like lubing up the machine so that all of the cogs and everything can work smoothly and how it's supposed to work. Probiotics. Probiotics help to maintain a healthy microbiome. A microbiome refers to the bacterial species present in your gastrointestinal tract. These bacteria are responsible for breaking down the food we eat, training our immune system, and releasing hormones and neurotransmitters which regulate our physiology. Research at this point about the microbiome and how to effectively manipulate it is somewhat limited. It's a very new field. But what we do know is each individual's microbiome is very different, even in identical twins. But there are distinct patterns of particular good bacteria in healthy individuals and bad bacteria in sick individuals. They know that it is important to have a wide variety of good bacteria rather than a high concentration of only a few strains of good bacteria. However, ironically, consuming a high concentration of only one type of good bacteria promotes the growth of other good bacteria, so it isn't necessary to buy probiotics with 50 different species of bacteria. You just need to have whatever your favorite source is, being it, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, whatever you prefer. Apologize for the noise outside. So once again, the only way to change your microbiome at this point is through diet. So those probiotic sources we talked about, prebiotics, which are fiber sources that we'll get into in a second, probiotics, which if you do decide to buy a probiotic supplement, make sure to put it in the refrigerator so that it can be stored properly and you have live cultures, because a lot of them die. A lot of the probiotic supplements just really aren't worth dying because you just get dead cultures anyway. And then also fecal transplants. But not many people have access to be able to get a fecal transplant. So the next thing on the list here is fiber. So insoluble fiber helps to scrape out your intestines and keep you regular, which is important for utilizing all the food in your body. People that use a lot of opioids, or people that just have a lot of health issues, their intestine can actually atrophy, so the smooth muscles don't work properly, and you kind of have food almost rotting in your gut. So this insoluble fiber, meaning that it can't be digested by anything or broken down by bacteria in your gut, just kind of goes along and is like a pipe cleaner, and it just goes through and it drags and kind of grips everything, takes it out along with it, which is very important. Very people don't realize this is not just for elderly grandmas, eating their fancy yogurt and making sure they get their fiber in. The second source of fiber is soluble fiber. And so this is fiber that can be broken down by bacteria in your gut. And this acts as a prebiotic, meaning it is food for the good bacteria in your stomach. So that can help to proliferate that good bacteria on top of the probiotic supplements that you do. So you want the kefir, kombucha, probiotic supplement to kind of seed your gut with those good bacteria, and then you want to have some sort of soluble fiber to feed those good bacteria so they can grow. And then the last point, fruits and vegetables. Now, contrary to traditional thinking, new research is kind of emerging that shows that the vitamins and minerals present in fruits and vegetables are not necessarily what makes them so healthy. It's actually this kind of effect called the hormetic effect. So yes, the vitamins and minerals are healthy, but theoretically you could get the same effect from supplementing with those vitamins. But when you look at the studies, there's actually more benefit to eating small amounts of fruits and vegetables as opposed to just supplementing with everything. And that's because what makes these fruits and vegetables healthy are the phytochemicals that are present within them. These phytochemicals normally they exert beneficial effects for the plants by acting as kind of a poison for insects or animals that try to eat them. But in the small doses ingested by humans, they aren't toxic, they just induce cellular stress. And the cell responds by producing a number of protective compounds, such as antioxidants to neutralize free radicals, neurotrophic factors, meaning like brain growth factors, which can help to preserve your neurons, which is very important. It prevents neuronal cell death, and you can't get back neurons once they die, so that's a big deal. Protein chaperones, which help make sure proteins are folded properly, helps to degrade misfolded proteins and prevents aggregation of proteins. Anti-apoptotic proteins, meaning these are proteins that help prevent cellular death. Some of them also contain phase 2 enzymes. These are drug metabolizing enzymes that transform both endogenous and xenobiotic compounds, meaning like compounds that you take in from an outside source. They convert them to more easily extractable forms and inactivate them. And the main one that a lot of people will know is glutathione S-transferase, because glutathione is a very well-known antioxidant in your body that's very effective at just crushing free radicals in your body. Thanks for listening. I kind of just made this as a review for myself and my few friends and people that have kind of reached out to me about my diet advice. So I hope this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day.